Hey, everybody, Dean Cottrill. We're going to let everybody give about a minute as everybody comes on. As you know, we do this pretty much almost every month, and we give an overview of some key area topic in running your brokerage business or running your organization, whether it's a large team or an independent brokerage or franchise, whatever you're running, this information is going to be helpful to you. This is a little snippet of things that we do with our clients that we work with. I want to highlight at the end of our presentation today a program called our Fellows Program. It's where we work with brokerages over a course of a year, and I'll give you some details on that. And this is something that we dive into with the brokerages in a much deeper level. We're just going to, kind of scratch the surface here. We're going to give you some real content, some real meat in this webinar, but we're not going completely down into the ditches with detail of this, but we're going to give you a lot that you can actually put in place with your business to help you guys increase your market share, increase your business through primary markets. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to bring a keynote up because it helps me stay on track, as we know. And I'm very excited. So for basically the primary markets, leverage to capture more market share. That's the topic. That's why you're here. I want to introduce Lorna Gagnon. Lorna is the regional manager for Verani. It's Berkshire Hathaway Home Service of Verani Realty, powerhouse organization up in the Northeast in the United States. She's also a business coach for Tom Ferry. She's phenomenal. She's a great, incredible leader up there. I've had the pleasure of working with Lorna and also, Margarita and Giovanni Verani of the organization, and working with all the leadership team in a program that we do with large organizations. And so, Lorna, if you can, just give a little bio if you can. I know it's bio here, but I want to read to people. I'd love to get from your perspective, also get them to hear your voice. Go ahead and share a little bio of yourself for everybody, please.
Well, I've been super fortunate to live in the two polar opposite ends of the United States, from Hawaii to New England. I'm currently a regional manager, and I oversee Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts for a company with about 625 agents. As Dean mentioned, I'm also a Tom Ferry coach. So I've had the privilege of working with Tom for about 4 years. And some of the stuff that Dean has shared with me and taught me has made me a better coach, a better manager, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of valuable information to help you grow your team or your brokerage or as an individual agent.
Excellent. Lorna, thank you very much. You can tell this isn't your first rodeo on doing webinars or, going your bio. So I thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge and expertise. I asked Lorna if she would be here because we've done this exercise together, the primary market exercise. And just like anything, she dove in and she just started running down this road and has implemented it within the region and the offices and the agents that she works with. And so we're going to get her perspective of this. We also, guys, we have a chat. So if you want to throw anything in the chat, any questions as we're going through this, feel free to lay something in the chat and we'll address it. Chris, I just want to make sure you can I'm not seeing the chat on my side. So if you see something come over, just go ahead and share with us what it is so we can address it, okay? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive into today's topic. It is primary markets. This is, we call this a flash webinar, guys. It's high content, short. We'll be about 30 minutes total with that. So we've got about 25 more minutes max that we're going to be spending on this topic. But we're going to start off and say, okay, what is a primary market? Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Let's make sure we're all thinking the same thing in our minds of what is a primary market. And then what is the income that can be derived from this? All right. So, the idea is great. I understand primary markets. All right. So let's really dive into this, because one of the things that's really helps validate the effort and energy from your agents and from maybe your managers or whatever the scope of your business is, or maybe your personal business, is what is the income that can be derived from this area? What can you really pull out of this? Because that'll allow you to calculate a return on investment, an ROI, and we'll dive into that and we'll discuss it. So then once you pinpoint a primary market, you see all the revenue that can be generated, you actually decide, all right, I'm going after this, I'm doing this. Then what marketing, what advertising really is going to benefit you in that space? How are you going to capture and take over these primary markets? And that lays right into the area for what is the implementation plan? How do you implement this? What does you do first, second, third, fourth, things along those lines? So as we go, let's dive in here. What is a primary market? Well, it's a high turnover market. One of the things we're going to encourage you to do is really to evaluate multiple areas. Now, everyone's market's a little different. So your areas might be, as a primary market, for example, you might have subdivisions. I'm very familiar, if you think about the Mid-Atlantic and even the East Coast, a lot of people have their subdivisions under different names, and you can pull it up on your MLS. So you could quickly ascertain the number of homes in there, how many homes have sold over the last 12 months, what was the average price of those homes, so on and so forth. So you can really analyze subdivisions very well. In your market, it might be, hey, we don't have subdivisions, we have X or we have Y, whatever. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So basically, you want to dissect it down to an area and get a sense of what is that turnover. Typically, primary markets, if it's a subdivision, they could be anywhere from 40, 50, 60 homes to 150 to 350 to 1,000 homes. So it always varies in the area. My primary market, I did this back, it's one of the things that helped me be very successful in sales and create a strong listing agent, was roughly 1,000 homes in a subdivision in right outside of Washington, D.C. But to that extent, you really want to look at a bunch of subdivisions. I remember looking at 43 different marketplaces, different subdivisions, and running them through the same formula. How many homes, average price, what was the turnover in that area? And then you did a calculation of what would be the ROI for that subdivision. And you can rank them by the best to the worst. And then you kind of hone in. But so you want to get a sense what the turnover rate is. A market that's turning over 4 and 5%, that's a very good turnover rate. You're probably going to find them lower than that. You're going to find something in a 2-3% range, something along those lines. So you really want to hone in on those areas that are more transient, turning over, things like that. But you also want to go in with your eyes wide open. If you go, I remember, for example, Potomac, Maryland. Lorna, anytime you want to chime in, anything, thoughts, this is interactive. This is great. I think that's better to do it that way. You know, I remember looking at Potomac, Maryland, which, if you don't know Potomac, it's very high-end properties, and right outside of Washington, D.C. And their turnover rate was very slow. The average time on the market back at the time I was doing this was like a year. I mean, they sat for a long time. It's a much different market then than it is now, but the market will change. So you want to evaluate price point, area, turnover rates, things like that. Price point, here's all that right there. And then area of focus for developing more business. So these are the areas to think about. Any thoughts that you have, Lorna, in this space as we kind of went through this process with you guys?
Well, I do think it's helpful to define turnover rate, because for some of the folks on the call, they might not understand what that means. And when I was doing this with my clients and my agents, that was the one thing they asked me, like, okay, what is turnover and how do I determine what the turnover is? The other part of that is, when you go into the granular data, it really does help you be more informed. So that next listing presentation you go into, even if it's not in that exact market, now you've got skills that you can then go to your next listing presentation, and you can talk from a place of knowledge with the consumer, not just MLS stats. So Dean, you might want to just share with them exactly what turnover means and how do they calculate it.
So if you have 1,000 home subdivision, you probably can't see my whiteboard, and you've got 40 homes that sold in the last 12 months, do the math. That's going to be 0.04. And that's, move the decimal point, that's a 4% turnover rate.
Perfect.
All right. So that's how you do the math. Just go ahead and say, how many homes sold? What's the total number of homes in the subdivision? And great, Lorna, this is the granular stuff that's really helpful. And then the challenges that you just expressed. And then that's a 0.04. And then you just move the decimal point. That's a 4% turnover rate subdivision. And that's the easy formula how to figure it out.
And you may have to go back a little longer than 12 months. You may have to look at a market 18 months out, because we do know that there's a lack of inventory right now. So one of the things, once you start digging into your specific market, you'll realize that, hey, I need a little bit more data, or, oh no, I can slim it down. I can actually do less data and still come up with a viable turnover rate.
Yeah, whichever time frame you do, whether it's 12 or 18 months, just be consistent.
Yes.
Right. So if you do 18 months, do 18 months for everything. If you do 12 months, do 12 months for everything. So you really look at things apple to apple. And this 100%. Is the thing, you want to break this down to apple look. All right, excellent. And then, so let's talk about income. All right, so now we've looked at subdivisions. We evaluated a bunch of areas. We broke it down to turnover rate. We have a sense of, okay, these are some good turnover rates. All right, so how much money can we make in this area? So the first area here is you can list homes, right? That's the idea. One of the challenges with this exercise is that a lot of agents were very short-minded. I'm putting myself in that category as well. All right, I'm a licensed agent, licensed broker. So with the idea, if I don't get a return, I don't get some type of list, I don't get a listing in the first couple of months of doing this, I stop, or I
Yeah.
would potentially stop, for example. And that's one of the challenges. So you want to go after this on a continuous basis. Really, the mindset is, and Lorna gave it to us, it's 12 to 18 months. You really want to commit to a full year. I would encourage 18 months of committed marketing and going after that area, because it's going to take you, I mean, right now you might be Adam or Eve to that area. They don't know you. In other words, you need to brand yourself and market you to that area as that local expert. So realize that. So, and then you obtain listings, and statistically, you should get about 10% of that listing inventory over the course of that 12 to 18 period of time. So that my example of the 40 homes and 1,000 home subdivision, which is really kind of where I started. That's why I use those numbers, and it's easy math too. That 4%. So so when you get that listing inventory, 40 homes, 10% of that's 4 listings. All right. And that's how you start equating. Okay, if I got 4 listings and the average price is that, how much money would I make? So you start kind of adding up, what would be my income? What would be my revenue that comes in from those listings? Resales. Now you've got people who listed their home, and you guys have probably a better, you definitely should have a better sense. If I listed 4 homes in Northwood Park, I'll go ahead and just run down this road for just clarity purposes. Northwood Park was a subdivision I went after I evaluated those 43 areas. Well, Northwood Park, typically you had a high percentage, 60, 70% of them would move into Bethesda or Chevy Chase. They would stay within my service area, in other words. So I could go sell them a new home, right? So that would not only list their home, I'd end up helping them buy the new home. And that was 60 to 70% of them. The other 20, extra 30%, 40% of those sellers would move out of the market. And that would be what's line 3 there. That would be an outgoing referral. I would place them wherever they're going and try to get a revenue commission that comes in from that. So here's 3 different areas of revenue. I put investment property in here because this is one thing I have a lot of interest in. So I kind of amplified this to the market. So to Northwood Park, I would talk about 1031 tax deferred exchanges, going into investing, running like little investor seminars at their local little, they had a little community area, a little community building up there. And I'd run an investing seminars, things like that. So that was something I ran down that road. It might not be your forte, and it might be something you're interested in. But I just put it in there as an example. You might want to dive into another area that you could broadcast to your primary market, because remember, you're the expert in that area in the real estate space. And if they want to do anything in real estate, you can support them. Referrals. I used to get a lot of people. I end up getting a list of people. This is what you guys will do as well on this exercise. We call them the neighborhood German Shepherds. These are the people in the marketplace who paid attention, always looking out the window. Hey, what's going on here? And who's listing their home, right? And they love to see the open houses and see that new inventory. And I get a list of these people, and these are amplifiers for you. Mm-hmm. So I would reach out and say, hey, Jill, I just listed that new house on North Avenue, 119 North Avenue. Oh, where they're going, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd come have an open house, neighbors only from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4, I'm having it open to the public. And if you can't come between 1 and 2, come anytime. I'm going to be there. Love to have you come over and see the house. Love to see you. Things like that. So you create connections with the community. And these are the people, again, they're the German Shepherds. They go to the cookouts without you. They talk about you as the expert in the market, and they help you expand your market. So you can get referrals. I used to get people who would reach out to me and say, hey, Dean, I've got a friend moving to the market and they're looking to buy a home, blah, blah, blah. And that's how that takes place, is because now you start getting referral income. It all starts from me becoming a primary market expert in that marketplace, and I've gone after that. And then you get inquiries. Now, we all know about this. You've got the sign out front. You're running marketing. You're running ads. You're online, all the different websites. So now you're getting the buyer inquiries that come in. Some of these will potentially buy that listing, but the majority of them are going to go buy something else. And I make contact with them. I connect with them because of that listing. I create a relationship. I create rapport, and then I help go take them and sell them something else. Also, I mentioned open houses. That was something I did a lot, 6 open houses a month. So I wanted to meet people face to face and connect with them. It was a real way to do it. And then buyers who also need to sell. So these buyers who came to me, and then I took them and sold them another home because maybe they didn't want that property, right? And then we could then go and help them buy something else. then they had a house to sell. A percentage of them had a home to sell. So it's additional revenue that sources. So Lorna, any of your thoughts on all these income line items in this kind of conversation with your agents?
Well, one of the things I appreciated most about doing the primary market exercise with you was the fact that basically what you're telling us is we need to leverage and lean into all of the income sources. And if you're not aware of how you can leverage a listing or how you can lean into all these different leverage points, then this just brings an awareness. And then you can put actionable steps like, what am I going to do to create more referrals from this one listing? What am I going to do to pick up additional outgoing referrals? So if you haven't turned your time and attention to it, it's likely that you're just going to list a home and sell a home. And so you'll only generate one income stream versus 7 from that same opportunity. So that's what I appreciated about going through this. It allowed me to quantify, and Dean's formulas are great because it also allowed me to see what is the return on investment, how much am I going to make if I truly invest in this primary market income exercise. So it was really great.
Because most people are just looking at number one, right?
Correct. You're like, oh, I got a listing, and okay, so I spent $1,000 and I got one listing and I made 15,000. Okay, I have $14,000 ROI. But truly leveraging that and understanding that you can pick up all these other income streams from one opportunity was really where the magic happens.
Yeah, and this is like, as we know, listings is the name of the game. So you really want to get 100%. That market share that signs out there as an agent and as a broker. So you really want to amplify your message. So then we transition. All right, talk about marketing and advertising. It's just throw out some ideas, door knocking, prospecting. Everyone's like, hey, some of your agents say, I don't have any money. Well, you can go knock on doors. You can walk the neighborhood. I used to take the dog with me and walk the neighborhood. I ended up my first listing in that neighborhood. I ended up buying and then moved into that neighborhood in my primary market. So that's what
we call sweat equity, right?
Yeah.
Versus tech equity. When you have no funds, just put some sweat into it.
And it's so funny because this is not SEO or this is not this. I mean, it's kind of the old school stuff, but you got to get out there and you got to meet people. It's really a belly to belly. That's what Jim Weichert used to say, Weichert Realtors. It's a belly to belly business. You got to get out and talk to people. And I know with COVID now really getting behind us, thank God, we're heading in another place. So get back out there. Open houses, hold as many as you can. Never have another agent. I know when you get your business up, my business grew. I became a very successful sales agent. But I never let anybody else hold my houses open in my market. I was there. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there. And that's my thing. You might end up growing so big that you don't want to hold your open houses. And we work with clients who frankly grow their business to the point where they don't hold open houses. That's all good. I'm just talking from my perspective. You want to keep a real close knit area there where people see you, think of you as you work out, as you work.
And Dean, I do want to point out with regards to that, because if we think about an open house, there has been so many times, not only myself as a very successful real estate professional, but all of my agents and clients, that they come to me and I'll say, hey, what was the lead source on this? And they'll say, oh my God, Lorna, I met this person at open house 4 years ago. So try not to think about anything that we talk about is this is a solution for today. What we're doing is we're future pacing your business to think about, oh, that person who you put in your database, who you nurtured along, that now wants to buy or sell 4 or 5 years from now, but you did meet them at open house because you went that extra step, even though the market didn't necessarily require it. So when Dean talks about these things, think about not only print, but also digital marketing, but being, like he said, face-to-face in a selling situation, meet as many people as possible from every opportunity.
Yep. And that's something, sometimes this is a little longer runway. It is a longer runway, but it's one you want to be on. You want this longer runway because at the end, you're going to be in such a powerful, better position. So just listed, just sold, you should be sitting. Those are one of the highest returns. That's something old school, but it still works. It works. That's why it's there. It's powerful. I mean, you guys look at your own mail. That's what you look at. Just listed, just sold right before you throw it in the trash. But you look at it, spends a little more time on your shelf, maybe. Neighborhood newsletter. If there's a neighborhood newsletter, you want to be in it. I remember mine. They said, oh, like you can do one business card. I'm like, well, how many business cards fit on a page? And it's like 8, well, I'll take the whole, I'm going to buy 8 business cards then. And I want to be on one page. That's how I had to move that into the idea of doing a neighborhood newsletter, full page ad. Be different in the fact that nobody else had other agents that marketed themselves in that subdivision, but they did a business card. I'm like, I don't want to do the same as everybody else. I want to be different. I want to be able
Yeah.
to stand out in a crowd. And the same thing you guys need to do in this space. I see you have a thought in that area.
Well, I mean, I think you can layer on print advertising with digital advertising. There's a lot that you can do to get focused on your community. Talk to people on message boards. Don't sell on message boards, but offer counseling, advice, information. One of the things I always tell my clients is, somebody asks like, who's the cleaner in the neighborhood, or I need a cleaner. Don't say, oh, here's the person. Say, some of my clients use this, or I've been really successful in using this person in my real estate business, without having to cross sell and say, oh, I'm in real estate. So how you present yourself in the market is just as important. And, I know everybody thinks those just listed, just sold cards go in the trash, but I've had people pull them out of their cabinet or take them off their fridge 8 months, a year, 14 months after I sent them, and said, oh, Lorna, we saved this.
Yeah, they're powerful. I completely agree. And then create, if you look at people who really grow on the primary markets, they start creating events. We have agents. I had agents in my company that would bring in, like a food truck, and they would provide at the 4th of July event, and it was all sponsored by them or whatever. So they get involved. They created moments and memorable moments that they were part of in that community. So that's the thing to think about. You want to really go big into this space to really become that agent who knows that market. You become more than an agent. You become some of a friend of the community. And that's what you really want to do. And look at this it's not a quick fix. You're not looking to get a quick listing and run down the road. You're looking to really take this neighborhood and make it, part of your family, part of your SOI.
And interview people in the community, right? Leverage their sphere of influence and their center of influence. Interview the local principal at the school. Have them talk with passion about why they love that school, because that's one of the things that people will research. And then you'll come up to the top of search because you've got the video, or you've got the collateral, or you've had an interview with these people.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I had agents who would do a video of the neighborhood. They did a video overview of what it's like to live there and what are the amenities.
100%.
And then they built a website, and they would do the Facebook page, and they would do all these things, and they built it out to be robust. So love it.
My daughter's moving to Atlanta. We did the same thing. I went on YouTube and I watched a bunch of videos about the Atlanta market, where we should go, what neighborhoods to focus on. So video is very powerful, and it doesn't cost you any money to create content.
Yeah. And frankly, people want to have that kind of the more realistic view. Sometimes they'll like the iPhone. I mean, you don't have to overthink this.
No,
guys, better you do something than nothing. All right. Don't wait around for perfection. Just doing something, being imperfect, but doing it is much better than trying to be perfect and not doing anything.
Agreed.
That's the book goes, right? So implementation for managers, guys, research. This is something as leaders, whether you're a manager, you're owner, founder of your business, you're a team leader, and you want to go down this road, research areas, map out the data, and kind of get a sense of, where the money's flowing, what looks good to you in areas, looking for areas of opportunity. And then you recruit and retain. If you're a manager, you're running a business or a broker, you can recruit agents that are already successful in markets. That's an influx of listings and business right there, right now. You also could go out and reach out to those neighborhoods that you see a great return, and start looking for new agents to get into a licensing class, to help them get into licensing, to start a business, and help them go into that as a primary market. So there's several ways that you can do this.
And that was huge for me as a manager and a recruiting manager at that, because when I started meeting with people from other brokerages and I started talking to them about their primary market, it was things that their brokerage or their manager had never done with them. And that was the number one reason why they agreed to sign on with our brokerage, because they felt like we had better insights and we really cared about their business. It was an enormous step forward. Once I did this exercise, I used it in almost every single recruiting appointment I had.
Good for you. And that's something we talked about. And that's something I remember doing this personally when I was actively recruiting. It was a game changer. When you bring people in, whether they're brand new to the business or whether an experienced agent, most leaders in our space don't have this knowledge to this level of detail. They might have a knowledge, hey, go to a primary market, but they don't have it to the granular level where you can walk somebody through it. And it really, it amplifies the message, and people see it very clearly. Wow, this person has a plan. They've done this. They've gone down this path. They're going to help me be successful. So love it.
100%.
Implementations for agents: research the market, select the primary market. Here's the steps for that. You move it to your agent or for your team leader and to your team members. Select the market, know that area inside and out. Lorna, you just said this, but you really need to know that market inside and out. Go look at it, walk the neighborhood park, know what's happening in there, really get in tune, do a Google save search. Anything comes up about that neighborhood, you're going to know about it. You want to look and see if there's any videos online, like we talked about earlier, for that neighborhood or about that neighborhood, anything like that that's going on. Special assessments. You got special assessment in that neighborhood, something potentially that this neighborhood's done in the past. You really want to know what's happening in there. And then preview all the current listings. You got to know it. That's your inventory. And then these aren't your listings or somebody else's at this point, right? And then preview all the listings as come on. So if you don't get a listing, or if for sale by owner comes on, you want to be that person that goes, looks at it, talks to them, because you're going to build your brand. I remember FSBOs coming up in my primary market, and I'd reach out to them and they say, hey, we thought we'd try this by ourselves, because maybe we never met personally, but they knew who I was because I've been marketing into that neighborhood for a period of time. And they're like, hey, if things don't work out, we'll come to you. Great. And if I have a buyer, I'll bring them over and I'll sell you the property too. I've got plenty of buyers that are coming to me other listings. So you create that relationship. And at some point they get frustrated and they're like, you know what, maybe not in this market, but the market will change, and that gives you the opportunity to get some more business. Start
And
marketing.
Dean, may I add to that just one more thing? Also, you can circle dial that neighborhood to talk about new listings that come on, regardless if they're your listings or not. So if somebody does list a property in your primary market, you can pick up the phone, you circle dial the whole neighborhood. Hi, this is Lorna Gagnon from ABC Realty, and I just wanted to share with you a new listing came on. Here's the list price. Do you know anybody who might be interested in buying in this neighborhood? Oh, you don't? Any chance you're interested in selling in 2022? And that in and of itself, you do that 3 or 4 times, then they start to know you. They're like, oh, hi, Lorna, how you doing today? And you build your brand awareness with circle dialing in that neighborhood.
Yep. And that's something that reminds me too, because one of the agents did this. I thought it was a great way, is a welcome basket. So even if someone moved in, bought a home, and it wasn't her listing or her buyer controlled sale, she would still take a welcome basket. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes, 100%.
Love it. I thought that was really go-getting. That was the way to do it. Hey, just like you're putting your stake in the ground and saying, you know what, I own this neighborhood, and hell or high water, I'm going to take it. So excellent stuff, guys. Start marketing. You are the local expert, and monthly at a minimum. You got to stay in touch. Some people say, hey, I want to do this once every 2 months, every 3 months, 5 months. It doesn't work. You need to be on top of this. You really want to go after it on a monthly basis at the minimum. And I'd encourage you to go for multiple directions. So that's the primary market conversation, guys. And we want to now move into kind of give you an overview of a program that we run called the Fellows Program. Lorna's had the benefit of going through all the modules, almost every single module we do in the Fellows Program. It's a 1-year MBA style program. We have live online modules that we present, and then we move into one-on-one meetings with or small group meetings. It really depends on that key area of your business. The key area of the business is if it's something that relates to finances, financial numbers, performance of your business, we do that on a one-on-one basis. If it's other modules, key areas of the business where we can mastermind it and talk amongst the group, that's 7 of the 10 modules are masterminds that we move into groups. And Laura, you've been part of that masterminding area where we get into the groups and we mastermind different concepts and thoughts like that. So that's kind of and any thoughts you might have on that individual one-on-one, and because we've done both with you, one-on-one and the group setting.
Yeah, I really appreciated all the exercises that we did because, again, knowledge is power, and it helped us break down per agent productivity, market share, what we were looking to do. We got really granular as to what our actionable steps in a plan were for success for the following year or for the year to come forward, because we did it in 2021. So it was extremely helpful as a leader in an organization to have a roadmap, to know what to focus on. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but sometimes we can get swirled around 8 million things, and this always brought us back to center. So I found it extremely helpful to work with T360 through their Fellows Program.
Great. And thank you, Lorna. I appreciate that. I kind of laughed when you said squirrel. Squirrel, there's so many different distractions. And that's one of the things in the process of why we take, some people are like, hey, I'd like to do this program in a month or 2 months. And why is it 12 months? Well, there's a reason, because there's a lot that we're going to work through, but it's a process, because you'll come out as a leader in a different place. You're a different leader after the
100%.
year, versus where you would be if we try to push this in a week. And it's not happening in a week, frankly. Any real change is going to take some time as we work through this process. We also, those of you guys know our organization, fantastic. Some of you don't. T360, we have multiple lines. So you can see point 4 here. We have access to other T3 members, T360 members. We have experts in the tech space, merger and acquisition space, talent and hiring, events, you name strategy, all these different areas.
Marketing. You guys did
Marketing.
some phenomenal marketing stuff for us.
Yeah, thank you. And that's Frederick Carreau, marketing. He was the Realtor.com marketing director for 14 years. Prior to that with Weicker. So very top-notch, very people that are very excellent, are excellent at what they do in their space, and they're in there. So you get access to all that as part of the team in this program. Requirements: you must be committed to growth. We're looking for people who want to grow, and also you have stable sales, in that you have a revenue stream coming in, because we're going to be working on your business. This is not sales training. We're not going to be helping you on sales training, things like that. We're talking about helping you grow a better, more efficient, more profitable business. All right. So this is one of the requirements we'll look at. I will encourage you to go ahead to the T360 that you saw Chris put it in the chat. In the website, there's T3 Fellows. I'm sorry, T3Fellows.com is the website. It'll lay out everything. It shows you the modules. It gives you some insight. We have some videos in there of past clients, current clients, giving you input and feedback of what it's done to them in their business and how it improved them. But there's a lot there, and there's an application. Fill out the application. It comes over to me. I evaluate it. We set up a call. At worst case, we spend 30 minutes on the phone, and I hear about your business, and I'll give you some thoughts and ideas and some things you might think about implementing to improve your business. In the Fellows program, we start it twice a year. We started already in March. The next time's not until September. So we got some time before we start again. So it gives you the ability to think about whether you want to go down this road or not with us. And the last is just to kind of final wrap it up. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, bring us back to full screen. I don't see any questions in the chat. If anybody does have a question while we're putting a bow on this conversation, just throw it in the chat. Lorna, I want to thank. Any final thoughts that you have about everything that we've talked about, primary markets, fellows, that you'd like to share with the group before we go ahead and end the call?
I just think it's kind of unfortunate because the only thing we touch on was really primary markets, but T360 does go very granular with so many diverse topics at a leadership level. I can't thank Dean enough. It made me a better leader. It made our organization better. And I've been able to implement so many of the ideas across the organization that he brought to us that, it's just a recipe for success. So I just want to say thank you for letting me participate today and participate in the Fellows program. It was truly awesome. Well,
you're awesome. And it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for everybody for joining us here.
Bye,
Safe
everyone.
travels when you get back. Safe travels.
Hopefully I can get back in the country.
I hope you do too. All right. But thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, everybody take care. Reach out if we can help.